No, I don't get out. I'm about to get out of here. Contrary to popular belief, the evolution of the two-party system. Boy, I'd love to convince the mainstream of this. The two-party system is not institutionalized in the Constitution. Nowhere does it exist in either the Constitution nor the Bill of Rights. In fact, most of the delegates at the Constitutional Convention were hostile to the ideas of political parties. George Washington, his farewell address, warned against it, and he worried about the baneful effects of the spirit of party and what it would have on the young republic. Thomas Jefferson was a little more blunt in his criticism, and I quote, "If I could not go to heaven but with a party, I would not go there at all." Okay? The fact is, they realized that this faction, think about Hamilton and Jefferson and the Federalists and Anti-Federalists, and just how much conflict it caused and what it's done to the founding original intent that we've got in our country right now compared to what we've got right now. It's broken us up, it's made us divisive, it's made us stop looking at principles. Okay? So, in my opinion, I follow George Washington's farewell address. Never form political parties. I will not be a party to any of them.
We still have Hamilton and Jefferson fighting.
Oh, yeah. Well, and right now, we are living under Hamilton's vision. They got their way. Might do this. Following the 1787 convention, the two factions, the Federalists and Anti-Federalists, battled over the ratification of the Constitution, with the Federalists, led by Alexander Hamilton and John Adams, predominantly, finally achieving their goal, but only after the addition of the Bill of Rights to restrain the federal government. Hamilton, who was appointed Treasury Secretary by George Washington, had a bold vision for the country. He believed that it should be the role of the federal government to promote a robust national economy that produced a thriving manufacturing commercial class. In order to win passage of his program through Congress, Hamilton cultivated and organized a group of like-minded allies to form the first political party, known as the Federalists. They recruited candidates in subsequent elections to increase their majority in Congress. And ultimately, it was Hamilton's follower, Chief Justice John Marshall, that truly achieved the original goals of the Federalists. Alexander Hamilton and John Jay. His ruling and opinion, quote-unquote, based on Hamiltonian philosophy, set the stage for the incremental move away from the fundamental principles and original intent of most founding fathers. Naturally, opponents of Hamilton's policy formed their own political party, led by James Madison. Remember, he kind of jumped over James Madison and Thomas Jefferson, who serving as Washington's Secretary of State. Remember, here's Hamilton, Secretary of Treasury, Secretary of State, Jefferson. Okay? The Democratic Republicans believed that the federal government lacked the constitutional authority to implement Hamilton's agenda. They don't have the authority. The Democrats, they would eventually become known, supported an agrarian-based and free market economy that promoted the well-being of farmers and tradesmen alike. The Democratic Republicans scored their first victory in the election of 1800 when Thomas Jefferson defeated John Adams for president. And buoyed by their success, the Democratic Republicans began organizing at the state and local level. Within several years, became the dominant political party. The Federalists found themselves discredited by their opposition to the War of 1812 and secessionist rhetoric from New England. Those people don't know that the North tried to secede from the South 3 times before the Civil War. Furthermore, President Madison had adopted such unpopular Federalist policies. Here he is, remember, he's a Democratic Republican. But while he was in, he kind of flipped back and he adopted policies like the National Bank, protective tariffs, right, where it's protective tariffs, corporate warfare, basically. Okay, which gave the Federalists few issues to campaign on. Most of the colonies still believed that they were sovereign and free, and they didn't like this. The Federalists failed to innovate or make inroads with the electorate, and in 1816 fielded their last presidential candidate, who lost in a landslide to James Monroe. Notice what I got to stop here. The end of the Federalist Party, but not Hamiltonianism. Primarily through the judiciary, the foundation was set to incrementally impose massively centralized government and shift most of the power away from the state and the people. We have now moved into an area of neo-feudalism. Okay? Feudal government, just as Hamilton wanted. Here's where I'm about to finish. We have followed the same blueprint as our founders. So how do we restore our country and our rights? One, we're under a government that's infringing on almost all of our rights, just like our founders. Our sovereignty, individual and state, has been removed, just like our founders. Three, the form of our government has been substantially altered. Think about the founders. They were under an English Constitution, which wasn't bad, but even King George and the Parliament started twisting and mangling that Constitution, so they didn't have the rights. That's why they were fighting back. So what powers do we have left? How can we fight this? The power of the vote, which hasn't done a whole lot of good because of the system we've got right now. Two, the power of the citizens' grand jury, with some caveats that I've told you about. We'd have to get back that citizens' grand jury and form ourselves, okay, which is possible. It's been done. Three, the power of our money. Okay. How does the government operate? Use our money for that. Okay. And four, the power of civil disobedience. You're saying, I'm not willing to do that. Now, what do I mean by that? More than anything else, and this is what I tell people on my radio show all the time. If we exercised our rights, if we just stood up today and started exercising our rights as the founders intended, the system could not handle it. Immediately, we would start having to revert back. Think about just the right to travel, like this is like that. Let's say we all started doing that one. Next thing you know, our court system would be bogged down overnight. Boom, shut down cold. Okay? At that point in time, then these objections could be raised and they would have to be seriously dealt with. Okay? So it's by exercising our rights that we will get them back. This is what I've been talking to people for a long time. Every one of our rights could be gained back again if we all just said, look, I've got this right, this right, this right. I got 186 of them. And we take the ones that we feel like we can stand up for, absolutely. And we just get it in groups. That's why the Tea Party and all this need to get this information out and get people to stand up. We can actually save this country if we did it. But we don't. We're running out of time.